One of the most common questions that I get asked is what tools do you need to maintain a vegan diet and be able to cook for yourself at home, be able to cook delicious, diverse, colorful, and of course nutritious meals. Well, luckily you don't need too much. There are just a few essential ingredients or tools that I really recommend, and you can do a lot with them. In this video, I'm going to show you those tools along with the other essentials that you don't need. Like, you can still be vegan and cook amazing food without them, but they will make your life a lot easier. So let's get started. The most essential, important tools that I can recommend are a knife and a cutting board. It's got to be a good knife, a sharp knife, because if it's a dull knife, you might slip and cut your hand off or your finger off. And a cutting board, it doesn't have to be too fancy, but I have a recycled plastic one that I've had for years. It doesn't retain any smell or mold or bacteria or anything like that. So it's a good knife and it's a good cutting board. If you've seen my videos, you know that it'd be really hard for me to make any of these recipes if I didn't have a knife and a cutting board. And I'm gonna link all of these products down below, so in case you're interested in the exact ones that I use and I recommend, check down below. Ooh, the other thing I recommend, it's heavy, but it's a cast iron skillet. I recommend this despite its weight because you can do so much with it. I'm gonna put it down. You can fry in it, which I don't do very often. Saute, which I do like all the time. You can bake in it. You can roast your vegetables. You can bake like brownies and cakes and stuff. You can also make lasagnas and casseroles in it and fillings, stuffings. And of course, you can make things like pancakes, French toast, tofu scramble. You can toast bread in it, which is what I do every single morning when I have my little toast, my avocado and all that. So, despite being so heavy, and I'm totally out of breath just from picking it up, cast iron skillet is the best like flat piece of cookware you can have. If you can only get one piece of cookware, this is what I would recommend. The only thing you can't really do with the cast iron skillet is anything that requires a little depth because it's so shallow. So for that, you're gonna need a pot, a simple pot. This is a smaller one. I use this to make my grains, like my oatmeal and rice and such. But if you're only one person, you could even make a soup in here. I have a whole bunch of different pots, but these two are the ones that I use the most often. Let's do a lightning round of some small things that I really wouldn't want to do without. Wooden spoons for stirring stuff, of course. Spatulas. This one, of course, for flipping pancakes, very important. And this one, in case you need to get anything out of a can or you want to scrape the sides of a bowl. You never have to let anything go to waste with this guy. Colander and a salad spinner. Ugh, I've had these a long time, which you can tell. This one's broken. I'm gonna buy a new one, I promise, but I recommend them both. If I had to choose one, I would probably go for the salad spinner because it's super hard to wash greens and dry them off without a salad spinner. And you can use the insert as a colander. So you can have both or you can just have this. Mixing bowls, because how else are you gonna make a big salad or bake or, I don't know, have popcorn? Can opener. As I said before, I try to buy most of my produce and my groceries from the farmer's market and just fresh foods, but of course, I sometimes buy cans and you can't open it if you don't have a can opener. This one's a good one too. Okay, so those are my tools that I really don't think I could live without. Like if I was going on a long road trip and I had to pack up my car with essentials, those are the things I would take and I would be able to cook for myself the entire time, no problem. However, there are some other things that I have at home and I use pretty often and I really love them, and I do think that they make your life a lot easier. They make prep and cooking more fun and just faster. Okay, so there are two appliances that I pretty much use almost every single day. My food processor, this is a 10-cup food processor from Cuisinart. The base that you put it on top of is large and very heavy, so I'm not holding it right now, but as you can see, you can fit a lot in here. I use this to make my nut butters. I only make my own. I don't buy them at the store because it's a lot cheaper to make it at home. So my nut butters, raw desserts, my veggie burgers, pestos, vegan cheeses, all sorts of stuff. I love this. If you could see it close up, you'd see it's kind of dirty because it's super old, but these things are great because they last a long time. If there's a piece that breaks, you can just, well, you can glue it back together, or you can go online and just buy a replacement part rather than having to buy a whole new food processor. I can't say I need this, but I definitely love it because it makes cooking so much more fun and versatile. So this is my blender pitcher. The base is really, really heavy. It's so heavy duty. This is a KitchenAid Pro Line blender. It's kind of expensive. It's equivalent to a Vitamix, but I think I like how it looks on the counter better, so I have this one. I've had both this and the Vitamix. They're comparable. They work the same in my experience. This might be a little louder, but I can't remember. It's really loud though. Super wonderful blender. Whatever you put in it, it just turns into just like liquid heaven. Your smoothies are super, super, super creamy in like 30 seconds. So I love it. If you don't want to spend like, I think it's $500. If you don't want to spend the full $500 for it, look for it online used. All of these things can be found used online or even refurbished from the manufacturer. I highly recommend doing that. So what do I use my blender for? Obviously smoothies every day. Also, you know, if you've seen my recipes for like the vegan mac and cheese or the nacho sauce, blender. It makes it super, super creamy in a way that the food processor just wouldn't. And when I think about would I want this one or I want this one more, if I had to choose one, it's super difficult to decide because I use them both so much. I use this every morning. I use this probably every day, maybe not every day. It's so hard to decide. So when you're thinking about these things, just think about how often are you going to use each one of them. And if you just can't decide, you can buy a combo. The issue with that though is that the blender attachment is not as good as this KitchenAid one. I know some people like a little chunk in their smoothies, so not me. But if you're okay with the chunk, maybe you go for a cheaper blender and food processor combo. Okay, now we're gonna do another lightning round of semi-essentials. So things that you don't really need, but again, they make your life easier and more fun. When I was a private chef back in New York City, some of these things I just really needed. They just allow you to make food more interesting, basically. So a peeler and a grater. This just makes your life easier. A grater, a little handheld one for carrots, beets, whatever. I recommend highly. And a box grater. I love a box grater because you have different sizes. So this one I use if I'm gonna grate some or shred cabbage. This one if I want to shred beets or carrots. Steam basket. Some people, depending on how you cook, you could say this is an essential, but I don't really use it that much. But of course it's for steaming vegetables. Baking sheet and a Silpat. So it doesn't, like whatever baking doesn't stick. So baking sheet, obviously, cookies, also if you're roasting vegetables and things like that. And like I said, the Silpat prevents things from sticking and it helps you cut down on waste. So you don't have to use too much parchment paper and definitely don't use aluminum foil because that doesn't really help with sticking. Measuring cup and of course measuring spoons. I have a couple sets of these. You know, you're gonna need to measure things out. Maybe it should be an essential actually. Dutch oven. Oh, so heavy. Dutch oven is useful if you're making stews and soups and you just need a really big, heavy pot. These are good because they help to evenly distribute the heat, cook things evenly. Oh, they're really heavy. Whisk, because you know, you gotta use a whisk to bake stuff and make pancakes. Tea kettle. So tea kettle to boil water for your tea, also for your cat's food, which is basically the only thing we use this for right now because it's too hot for tea. A serrated knife. I use this knife and that 8-inch chef's knife that I showed you before. That's it. Serrated knives are great if you want to cut bread, of course. Also if you want to cut soft vegetables / fruits like tomato, and also really good if you want to cut melon. It's really sharp and it just, the serrated edge just makes it easier to kind of like saw into things. A set or at least one mesh strainer. I have a set of 3. This is the smallest one. The most common way I'll use this little one is if I want to squeeze a lemon and I don't want the seeds to go into whatever I'm squeezing the lemon into. I used to have a citrus squeeze, but it broke and I don't know, I didn't want to replace it. So this thing works just as well, and you can use it for other things as well, like steeping tea and just straining things in general. All right. Other size and shaped pots and pans are really great. This one is nice because it's lighter. You can't efficiently meal prep if you've only got one pan. Same thing goes for baking dishes, although I don't really have that many because I got rid of them when we moved. And living here in LA in our new place, I found that I can do all the baking I want in my cast iron skillet. But if you want to have a bunch of baking dishes, you can have those too. Okay, now for the non-essential essentials, I guess. Things that you really, really don't need, but they still can make cooking and meal prepping and such easier for you. Microwave oven. Microwave oven, I mean, ours is built in, so we didn't have to buy that, but I use a microwave oven. I don't have anything against the microwave oven. When it's really hot outside, I am not turning on my oven, so I will put a sweet potato in the microwave oven. Or if I don't feel like taking a long time to make oatmeal, I will make it in the microwave oven. Toaster oven. I don't have one, I admit. I have no space for a toaster oven. However, I do love them so much. In New York City, we had one and it was great, especially if you only need to bake a small amount of food, so you don't want to turn on your oven and waste all that gas. Toaster ovens are great. You can buy a super expensive one or a super cheap one. In my experience, they pretty much all work the same. The Instant Pot. So I actually love the Instant Pot and I'm super happy that I got one because, again, when I don't want to turn on my stove and warm up the whole kitchen or the whole house, I can use my Instant Pot. I also like that I can put beans or a soup or a stew on and not have to worry about, is it burning, is it boiling over, or anything like that. I can even just leave the house and let it keep going. So an Instant Pot, if you're not already familiar with it, is an electronic pressure cooker. Simple as that. It does slow cooking as well. Another thing about the Instant Pot is if you have a small space, say you're living in a dorm, that is definitely something that you really seriously might consider because you don't have a stove or an oven, right? So you can do all your cooking in that. Air fryer. So I like the air fryer. I have one. I didn't buy it. I was gifted one and I like it. But I don't know if I would say you should buy one because it's a really big appliance. It takes up a lot of space, but you can only fit a small amount of food in there. So you have to use it in batches. But you know, you don't have to use oil when you're air frying. It's a lot healthier. It's fun. So, you know, if you want another appliance and you have the space and don't mind spending a little extra money, you can buy it. But, you know, it's up to you. Mixer, standing mixer, fancy standing mixer, KitchenAid. So this is a mini mixer. It's perfect if you live in a small space. However, I don't really bake that often, so I hardly ever use this thing. It looks so nice on the counter though, it's pretty. It comes in handy if you're baking a lot, making cookies, whipping aquafaba to make, well, if you don't know about aquafaba, look it up. Another thing about mixers is that you can attach things to it. So this little top thing comes off and you can attach a spiralizer, you can attach a food processor, so you don't have to buy a big one, you can have like a little one that attaches to here. You can do a pasta maker. Of course, if you don't want to spend a lot of money on a standing mixer and you like to bake, make sure you have a hand mixer. Growing up, that's what my grandmother used to do all her baking and it worked perfectly fine. So I hope I mentioned everything. I definitely mentioned everything that I legitimately use on a daily basis. But if I forgot anything or if there's anything that you consider highly essential, please let us know down in the comment section below. And I hope you will see that to be vegan, to eat a healthy vegan whole food diet, you don't need a whole bunch of stuff. Remember that cutting board and knife essentially is exactly all you need. Being vegan doesn't require some weird, like fantastical kitchen tools that you wouldn't use if you were eating meat. It's the same thing pretty much. And if you need links to any of the products, items that I mentioned in this video, I've linked everything down below so you can buy them down there and just see the actual brands and things that I use. And if you're new to the vegan lifestyle, welcome, congratulations. Don't miss my Vegan 101 playlist here on YouTube. I think I can put a little link around here and I'll put it down below as well. Check out those videos. They've got meal plans in there and just, helpful tips for helping you transition and to maintain a sustainable, healthy, delicious vegan lifestyle. So give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.